Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of District 79 webinars, where we present convenient online trainings and meetings to help our Toastmasters members grow and grow and grow. I'm DTM Akanki Abdul-Khalik. I'm the District 79 webinar manager, and I'm delighted to present, along with some wonderful trainers tonight, this session entitled Winning on the Big Stage, Tips from Champions in Evaluation, Table Topics, and Humorous Speech Contest. And so we're ready to get started. And to get started, I want to start by introducing our presenters. Our first presenter will be Toastmaster Ahmed Shukri. Now, let me just first of all say that some of you probably saw our early promotion for this webinar, in which Toastmaster Saeed Faisal was going to be our presenter, but he had last-minute business travel and is not able to be with us. So we have Toastmaster Ahmed Shukri, and let me tell you about him. He's our guest presenter. Toastmaster Shukri joined Toastmasters in 2003. He won the Evaluation Championship title for District 20 in 2012. He is the founder and past president of Aluminum Bahrain Toastmasters Club, which was the first corporate club in Bahrain, founded in 2003. He currently works as the head of PR at Aluminum Bahrain, and nowadays, apart from evaluation, he is discovering the joy of debating. That sounds really exciting. Toastmaster Ahmed, thank you so much for being here and for presenting our segment on evaluation today.
You're most welcome, and good evening, everybody. It's my pleasure and privilege to be with you tonight. I hope I can benefit you all with my humble experience in speech evaluations.
Thank you so much. And our next presenter will be Toastmaster Helenka DeLuca. Toastmaster Helenka joined Toastmasters in 2014, and she is our 2015 Table Topics Champion for District 79. She is the past secretary of Eagles Toastmasters Club, and she just reached a milestone in her working career. She just ended her work at Saudi Aramco as a writer and editor in order to prepare to leave the kingdom and to adventure the world by traveling with her husband, who is an Aramco employee. And we are excited for that journey for you. And welcome to you, Toastmaster Helenka.
Thank you very much, Akanke. I'm looking forward to my journey and looking back at my journey as a Toastmaster as well as great excitement. I hope others will be able to share that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And our other presenter who will be presenting on Humorous Speech Contest is Toastmaster Shiraz Mahdi. He joined Toastmasters in 2012. He is the current Vice President of Education for Discovery Toastmasters Club. He is the past president also for Discovery Toastmasters Club and currently works as a system analyst at KFUPM. He was with us earlier, but he had to sign out, and I don't see him. Are you there, Toastmaster Shiraz? Can you hear me? Okay, so we'll come back to him. He's going to be the third presenter, and hopefully by then we'll have him fully connected back with us. Now, before we actually get started into the wonderful gut of our content today, oh, by the way, let me just say who I am again. I am DTM Akanki Abdul-Khalik. I'm the District 79 webinar manager and the facilitator for tonight. I'm the Toastmaster of the Year for last year, 2014-2015 for District 79. Now, I want to tell our attendees how they can participate. This is very important. We want this to be an interactive session. And the way that our attendees can participate is by raising their hand. There's a control panel attendees on your screen, and you have a small hand icon. If you click that, that is going to give me a signal that your hand is raised, and that means you want to say something. You want me to open your mic so that you can ask a question or make a comment, and I'll be glad to do that at an appropriate time. Also, in case you don't want to raise your hand and have your mic open, you may just want to share a question or a comment. You can do that by typing in the question box, and I'll come to your question and read it out loud for you or your comment when it's an appropriate time. Also, we'll have something called polling. We're going to quiz you and interact with you by asking you questions. So when you see a polling question pop up on your screen, attendees, you'll have about 15, 20, 30 seconds to respond to the polling questions, and then we'll close the polling and share the results with everyone and talk about the results. And the polling will be coming at different times. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to have each presenter present. Then after his or her segment, we will open up for questions and comments, and we'll open the mics and ask any typed questions or comments at that time. So But before we get started, I want to do a test. Can you all hear me now, the attendees? I want to know if you can hear me, if you can see our screen. Say yes, hello. Give me a sign that you are with us. Yes, hello, wonderful, awesome. Hello, Toastmaster Ashraf, Toastmaster Raju, Toastmaster Sithi. Thank you so much for responding, and everyone else who's responding now. Thank you so much. So great. We're going to go ahead and get started with this wonderful, exciting training because we're in contest season, and this session is all about how to win on the big stage. You know, the competition gets a little stiffer as you go further along the levels of competition. And most people or most divisions have probably had all their areas finish their area contest. I would guess most of them, if not all. And now we're heading towards division competition, and things are going to get a little bit tougher. And this segment will help you to learn how to win on the big stage and, of course, win on any stage, because these tips that our presenters are going to give you all tonight will help you at the club level, at any level, but they're going to bring it to another level in terms of telling you some tips that have helped them to win, because each one of them has won a championship at the higher level. So let's get started. I'm going to go first to our guest presenter from District 20, Toastmaster Ahmed Shukri. I need to come over to you and your screen. I'm going to share your screen now, so you'll see a message coming on your side.
Okay.
And when you're ready, we will see your screen.
I am ready. Here we go.
Okay, I'll let you know when we can see your screen. It's there now. So if you go on with your slideshow, we can get the show on the road. Oh, and you know what? I want to ask you a question first.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yes. I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
To get your session started. What do you love about evaluation speech contest?
Well, to be honest with you, evaluation for me is the first step to any great speech. When you give an honest, straightforward evaluation, you're giving the other person an opportunity, a chance to become a better person, a better communicator, and a better speaker. I consider evaluation just like directing movies. I love movies, but I cannot act very well. So I sit back behind the screen, watch people act out their stories, and direct their life stories, and find better ways to make these stories more effective and more powerful. So that's why I love evaluations.
Awesome, awesome. So let's go ahead and get started with your slideshow. You can launch your presentation in slideshow mode, and we'll be following along with you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So this is my humble summation of 12 years of fighting on different stages, talking to people, finding ways to make them become better speakers by giving them sincere, humble evaluations for their performance. This is a culmination of a journey that began with me like any other Toastmaster, a fresh Toastmaster, just moving around the space and finding ways, reading more, and finding tips and techniques to help others. So basically, the mental image that anyone would have in his mind or her mind is us winning, conquering the stage, going into the area contest, the division contest, or district contest, and picturing ourselves winning all the way. Problem is, in reality, that's not the real deal. Evaluation is a very tough spot. It's a balance in you giving out something, material, feedback, and on the one hand, and on the other hand, you try to impress a collection of judges. So it's a nice balance between giving out something for the target and maintaining good showmanship of your own skills and abilities. So this is a very surprising slide I always share with people when I often ask them. I tell them, do you know what are the judging criteria for the
Let me just interrupt you for just a moment because you're breaking up a lot. I need to know from the attendees if you all can hear him or if you hear the choppiness, because if that's the case, I need to try to switch try and make a difference on my end to see if that will make a difference on everybody's end. Yes, he's breaking up. Okay, if you all would just bear with me, I'm going to just bear with me. Okay. All right. Can everyone hear me still? Do you all hear me okay? Okay. All right. Toastmaster Ahmed, can you hear me okay? Okay. I'm back now. Can everyone hear me? Toastmaster Ahmed, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I just made a change of my internet connection to see if that's going to help on your end. Hopefully it will. So you go ahead and proceed. If it gets any worse, I'll interrupt you again, but hopefully, Bismillah, it will be fine and dandy and we won't have any issues. Okay.
Okay, so when I ask people about their experience and knowledge about the judging criteria, most people tell me that, okay, we know basically what the judges will select. But quite often, I find out that the specific details of the actual sheet are not known for many, many speakers, even in advanced levels. Even for me, up to the year 2012, I didn't know exactly that there are 15-point summation. So I go about my evaluation, I go into the recommendation, I try to become encouraging and positive, but I never give a summary. Only when I read the actual sheet for judging that I know that there are 15 points for summation. So I guess the first tip that anyone should know at this stage, if not known already, is to go back and fully read the judging sheet for the speech evaluation competition. It will be very helpful, and you can see the breakdown of points on the analysis for 40 points, the recommendation for 40 points, and the technique used, and of course the summation for 15 points. So knowing this beforehand will help anyone become better prepared for the next competition. Here's my question. Where is or who is the real threat when you go about your speech evaluation contest? Is it the judge sitting next to you, marking every move? Or is it other evaluators, your worthy opponents in this competition? How about the target speaker? Is the target speaker an enemy, a friend, or someone you should know? Or how about the audience themselves? Sometimes we have members of the audience who are not very responsive. They're in their own zone. They don't interact with you. But how about the microphone? On many occasions back in the day, 10 years ago, we had a lot of problems with our mic. The mic used to scream a lot. We had breakdown of the voice. It was a living nightmare. But hopefully these days we don't get microphone problems anymore.
Usually we don't.
Is there something else? Usually we don't. Is there something else that can become a real threat to your next speech evaluation contest? I think this is the real threat. You can see this beautiful traffic light colors of green, yellow, and red. You might guess by now that I'm referring to the time. So what do ineffective evaluators do with time? What happens usually is from second 0 all the way to just before the amber light, people tend to repeat the speech as if we are hearing it for the first time. So they ramble on what happened a few minutes ago. They talk about how the speaker began his speech, and then how the speaker moved into story mode, and how the speaker concluded the speech. And in every part of that narrative, they remember to praise and overpraise and even whitewash the speaker. So we get a deja vu effect all the way from second 0 to almost second 2 minutes and a few seconds. Then what happens is the speakers see the amber light or the yellow light. They rush. They squeeze in 2 suggestions, and they end the evaluation suddenly. The whole experience becomes a squeezed sequence of words, a mishmash of sentences, and an attempt to help the speaker. But again, time is the enemy here. Even if you're prepared, even if you have some mental framework in your head, the moment you are on the stage and you see that dreadful timeline, that will be your true enemy in your speech evaluation contest. Now, what should good evaluators do in this case? I think the best way and the most effective way is to go into the meat of your evaluation. The meat of the evaluation is not the repetition of the speech. The core of your evaluation is actually the suggestions you're going to give back to the target speaker. So I found out that the best way is to jump across or move very fast in the first segment of your evaluation by not repeating what happened, rather telecasting, being a perfect newscaster, as if you are giving the 8 o'clock news show, glancing over what happened well in the speech, giving highlights of what happened. And here, you got to be very careful, because when you talk about highlight, you don't want to sound as if you're repeating the speech. You need to sprinkle about a few of your own insight, of your own commentary, of your own reference to concepts, to past speakers, to lessons in public speaking, to sprinkling all of this commentary beginning just before you even see the green light. You need to finish this in my way in the first 45 seconds. The 45 seconds before you finish that, mentally time yourself for 45 seconds, do your highlights and commentary, and dive into the core of your evaluation. And the core of the evaluation, I think, is 2 to 3 focused suggestions. And I put under the word focused 3-4 lines. Focused suggestions is the difference between a normal evaluation and a great evaluation. And I say 2 to 3 because sometimes 3 will be a little bit too much, so 2 will be perfect. So if you're fast enough, if you can manage time enough, you can squeeze in 3 suggestions. If you think you're going to spend more time explaining the focused suggestions, then I guess 2 will be just perfect. As you finish your 2 to 3 focused suggestions, you can properly do your summation and properly hand over back to the contest chair. And even summary, don't be fooled by the title summary. It will need time to create a summary, because you need to tie in everything all together. An evaluation at this level is just like a prepared speech. Your summation should tie in beautifully with your introduction. And you need to give a proper handover. You know, in our individual project speeches, we tell the speaker, we recommend him or her to advance to the next level or to repeat the speech as our own opinion. On the contest level, you need to lay forward a call for an action or something you have learned about the speech, or end it up with a very creative way to end the whole thing with an impact. Now, when people ask me, what do we say when we evaluate? This is very simple if you think about it in the way of what to say, how to say, and why you're saying it. So basically, you break down your analysis into 2 main categories. The first one is speech or content, and the second one is speaker or delivery. Every effective evaluation is based upon a combination of content and delivery. In the content bucket, you talked about what the speaker talked, the structure, the examples, the story. And in delivery, you talk about how the material was delivered. Now, in the focused 2 to 3 suggestions, this is a bucket list of what you need to dive into to become better in finding the focused 2 to 3 suggestions. So you can group them in 3 main buckets. The first one, words. What will your word make us think? Voice, what we heard, and body, or what we saw. So basically what we thought, what we heard, and what we saw. And you can see the list here of specific points, and this will take a different seminar to explain each and every basic specific area, from structure to rhetoric to stories, and moving into voice quality, intonation, pauses, clarity, and going into stages, visual frameworks, gesturing, and presence. What I give a basic recommendation here is, if you want to become a little bit critical in your evaluation, try to focus most of your critical evaluation on content and give more reinforcement and encouragement on the delivery side of your evaluation. So leave the harsher side of your evaluation to be focused on the content, and try to be more mellow and more friendly on the delivery. Why I'm saying this? Usually we need to separate the speaker from the speech. The speaker is a different entity from the speech. So if we go and evaluate the speech even harshly, the speaker will be safeguarded. He or she will feel that I am butchering the speech, but the speaker still remains safe away from my critique. So that's the basic framework that you go into while giving your evaluation. I also apply this method, which is well known to every speaker, which is 10% introduction and 10% conclusion, and the meat is in the body of your evaluation. This tip actually has to do with the way that we prepare for our evaluation. Most people, when they get that piece of paper signed by the judge, they start frantically writing down stuff. They write down everything. They write down the example, they write down the speech title, they write down everything, every piece of information they may not need. And they forget that this is not a note-taking contest. It's more of a delivery challenge. So when we write something, we tend to forget about it, right? And then when we forget about it, we tend to rush into our evaluation. What I recommend to do here is, when you receive that paper, try your best not to write on that piece of paper. Try your best to listen to what's going on, to listen to your actual target speaker. And then as you listen, you need to map out the basic stages of your evaluation. So map out your introduction, map out your body, and map out the conclusion that you want to structure your evaluation on. And then in the end, you forget about everything, the notes, the paper, the pad, everything, and focus on delivering the map that you have prepared in that 5 minutes break, or if you're waiting in the holding room. And then you need to fine-tune. Now this is where I spend most of my feedback to people. In fine-tuning, and do you actually encourage people, or do you whitewash? Do you tell the truth, or do you exaggerate the praise? In the field of competition, I believe you should lean more towards encouragement, but not over-encouragement. Remember, you have 40 points on how you sound, how you make it more encouraging. So I guess in the contest, you need to lean more towards encouragement, but not that much of whitewashing that we usually give for an icebreaker speech, for example. So encouragement is really good. It will have, because basically your target speaker will be someone who at least finished 6 speeches, I assume, or a CC. So he or she will be at least with some experience in Toastmasters. So I lean towards encouragement more than whitewashing. Then this is a big one. Do you objectify a speaker or do you personalize a speaker? A lot of evaluators, they use this term, my speaker. This was my speaker. That ownership pronoun that you add to the speech, to the speaker, makes it a bit awkward. I always say that you have to personalize your evaluation. If you know the name of the target speaker, use the name, because the name that we were given is the most precious sound we can ever hear. The more we use the name, the more connected we feel with our target speaker. I'm a big supporter of using names and even the meaning of names. In 2010, when I was in Kuwait for DTAC, when I won second place in that year, the name of the speaker was Amal, and Amal in Arabic means hope. So I made sure to say her name more than once and explain the meaning of her name more than once. And I could see the smile on her face. She was really enjoying it. So please personalize, use the name of your target speaker. Next, do we share or assume feelings? And this is a big mistake that people do when they give feedback. They assume on behalf of the rest of the audience that most of the people in this room felt bored. How do you know that? You can only vouch for your own feelings. Focus on your own feelings. This speech made me feel this and this. This speech made me feel happy, made me feel sad, because nobody can argue with your feelings. Your feelings are yours. So always try to avoid general perception of the whole room and focus on your own feelings. Next, please try your best to use IMHO. In my humble opinion, be very tentative and stay away from will be explained by the judges as being not very encouraging. So
okay,
try your best to sound very friendly. Use tentative verbs.
Okay,
Yes.
Toastmaster Ahmed, if you could just repeat the last thing you said, because your voice, we got a real dragging, and that was the first time that's happened since you've been speaking. Just the very last thing that you said.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
No problem. Yeah. So when you want to lay forward your suggestions, try your best to sound very tentative, very friendly, very suggestive. Stay away from being assertive or bossy, because the moment that you become more assertive, this assertiveness will be explained, will be translated into not being very encouraging. So remember always the power of being so humble. So IMHO, in my humble opinion, this will work like magic. You be so suggestive and personal and humble in your opinion. Use words like, perhaps in my opinion, I think you could do this in a better fashion. So if you focus on being more friendly and less assertive, it will translate into better scoring in your scoring sheet with the judges. Next, it's a big one. Do we remove or do we keep the but? And what's the problem with the but? The problem with the but is whenever you say it, everything good that you said before the but gets forgotten. So we are programmed not to hear what happens after the but. So try your best to replace the but with a variety of other phrases or sentences. And this has to do also with your framework. Some evaluators like to paint pictures, use anecdotes, use metaphorical tools, just to avoid saying the word but. Even, however, these are all tricks, signposts that will make your target speaker forget what you have said before and just focus on the negativity of what's coming forward. So try your best to walk around the but. Let's say, for example, we've heard beautiful stuff from the target speaker. Now it's my role as an evaluator to find ways to make your next speech better. This is how you avoid the but in your evaluation. Next, do you go over time? Well, in the case of contest, you can't go over time unless you feel you're going to lose and you want to save face. You can go a little bit over time. But being over time and even playing in the nick of time, going into the red zone and trying to squeeze every second, for me, I think it's really stressful. It causes stress on the speaker, and it causes stress on even the supporting club members. So try your best not to squeeze every second, finish comfortably, and have plenty of time to really hand over back to the contest chair. And remember always, we need to separate the speech from the speaker. The more that we internalize this concept, the better evaluators we become. The speech is different. The speech is something in the past. The speaker is something for the future, because the speech may not be repeated, but the tips on delivery will always be taken forward to the future. And remember, your job is to close the loop and always give the speaker something to move forward with. A positive, reinforcing message, and advice to make your speaker move forward with more power and more assertiveness. This is my last tip. I really hope that you enjoyed most of the things that I tried to package in these slides, and best of luck for your next evaluation assignment.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ahmed. That was very informative, insightful, and wonderfully presented. And I have a question for you. You said to map out. You said don't start writing right away. And then when you do start writing, to map things out. Are you literally talking about using the mind map diagram, or can you just explain that a little bit more, please?
Sure, no problem. Well, when we talk about mind mapping, we immediately jump into Tony Bozen's method of mind mapping, which is you start in the center and you spread out on your sheet. In this case, I don't want you to start in this method, because this method will create less order fashion of your evaluation. We need to reduce randomness and create more order in your evaluation. So your map for evaluation should be as basic as possible. Just 3 buckets. The first bucket is your introduction. The second is the body of your evaluation, which is basically the 2 or 3 suggestions. And the third bucket is the conclusion. What you need to really think about while creating the 3 buckets is how to link these buckets, because sometimes the transitions will make us stutter, stop, and hesitate. So when you place your buckets on your map, try your best to think about your transitions between each segment of your map. Some people use rhetorical tools, like, for example, evaluation or speaking is just like drawing or music. In music, you get the intro, and then the main orchestra, and then the conclusion, something like that.
Yes. Yes, I've also heard people use the example of a great dish or ingredients for a nice meal or dessert or something like that. I've seen those food analogies also. And let's talk about that a little bit more, and then we're going to go to one question from Toastmaster Siddhi. Let's talk about that a little bit more in terms of, is it possible to prepare something. If you know you're going to be an evaluation contestant, how can you prepare for it? I have seen this work to people's advantage. I know it's something they thought about ahead, like they had a framework. They're going to talk about a meal, or they're going to talk about a car race or something. I've seen it work to people's advantage, and I've seen it work to their disadvantage. I've seen speakers in evaluation tests use their prepared concept, and it does not apply in that instance to that test speaker. Can you talk a little bit about how to prepare effectively to deliver, and if you can prepare ahead of time?
Excellent. That's a great question. Now, as in every area of speaking, evaluation also takes a route of evolution. So beginners in evaluation, what they do is they go and read the basic manual and they try to answer the questions in the basic manual. So that's basic by the book evaluation.
Okay, you're breaking up. I don't hear you now, Toastmaster Ahmed. If you can hear me, just
what went well, what needs improvement, what can improve.
Okay, Toastmaster Ahmed, you're breaking up.
Become more seasoned.
Just give a pause for just a moment, because you're breaking up. That was a lot of breakup just now, so you can start over and give your answer again. Hopefully we'll capture it we can hear you easily this time. So if you could just answer that question again, because you were breaking up for most of what you said. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. I'll try it again.
Okay.
As in every area of speech, evaluation also goes through a circle of evolution. So at the beginning, every fresh Toastmaster will go to the basic manual or any other manual and try to evaluate based by the textbook. So what went well, what needs improvement, and how to improve. This is a very basic textbook evaluation style.
Mm-hmm.
And as we progress and become more seasoned, we discover ways to make our evaluation more animated.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we try to bring in those frameworks, the dish or the song or the playground. This is our own attempt to become more creative.
Mm-hmm.
But the only problem is it may not work in every level. In my experience, the pre-prepared frameworks for evaluation can do the trick all the way, maybe all the way up to this division or area. In the district level, it's a whole new ball game. The more you prepare your framework, the more you will sound artificial. They will be able to point out that you are over preparing your material. So I guess the next level of evolution is really being half prepared and half impromptu. So the third level of evolution in your next evaluation is to move from basic evaluation into creative animation framework, and the last level is the conceptual analysis, the brain type of evaluation, where you need to read more and to bring with you forward a few examples, like from world champion speakers, and David Brooks, for example, is one of the biggest resources for information on evaluation. David Brooks is the creator of Champion, so he has a lot of material that will help you think more in concepts. And the last one is the magic of your linguistic abilities. Language play a big role in your next evaluation. And you know, it's a trick I use. Whenever I want to win the next level of evaluation, I have to sound smart, right? But not too smart, though, because I don't want my words to fly over the heads of my audience members. So I need to strike a balance between the concepts that I bring and the language that I use in. For example, let me share with you a typical introduction of my evaluations. So I go something like this. Tonight we've heard a speech from a very experienced speaker. This speaker knows how to combine the impact of stories and the memorableness of the life lessons linked to the story. This reminds me of the Bill Gove concept. You always tell a story and make a point. So you see, you link what you want to say with a concept or with a principle. And that's the last level of your evaluation, progress, and evolution.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ahmed. Let's go to some of the questions now. We have a question from Toastmaster Sithi. He said, can you please repeat what you said to replace the but with? If you don't use but, what do you use?
There are a few tricks to avoid using the but in your evaluation. My favorite one is to remind people why you're there. So you are on the stage for 3 minutes. Why are you doing this, right? You're the evaluator. So the best way, the best tool is to say something like this. So so far we've heard beautiful stories, examples, concepts. Today, I am the evaluator. Today, I'm here to make your next speech better. And the way I want to make your speech better is to offer you a couple of suggestions. Okay? This is you'll take long time, but believe me, the way that you're gonna formulate your words will have much bigger impact than just going shortcut and saying but and ending up your, what you've said previously.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you so much. Let's see, we have another question. Can you explain what is the best way to begin an evaluation speech? Maybe you just covered that, but if you want to add anything in addition to that. So that's a question from Toastmaster Sunil. Thanks for your question, Toastmaster Sunil.
All right, now the way that you start your evaluation. Many people like to start their evaluation with an impact, something strange, something out of the box. Well, it could work, but it may not work. It may backfire. Let me tell you an example. It's a real-life story. In 2012, the finalist in my speech evaluation was a gentleman from Oman, and he was preparing very well for his evaluation. I was watching him in the holding room preparing for his evaluation, and part of his preparation was to take off his jacket. So I knew he would take off his jacket on the stage. And I wanted to tell him, don't do that, because the mic is attached to the jacket. So all the audience heard was this. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I am going to start with taking off my jacket. And that was it. Nobody heard anything after that. He kept on speaking until the end of time. He was so into his speech that he forgot that nobody is hearing him. So the best way for me, the best way is not to waste time in over-the-board creative way, because you're not speaking, right? You're evaluating. Your role is not the one of a speaker. Your role is the one of the evaluator. So the best way is to jump into your evaluation and try your best to move into the highlight part, right? The highlight part is just like the newscaster on TV, and just basically start by saying, fellow Toastmasters, this morning we were all joining an experience of higher human magnitude in this speech. We've heard a speech by a speaker who knew his material. He applied each and every trick in the book to make his speech more effective. Starting with the beautiful introduction that grabbed our attention. This is what we call the CSI introduction, where you throw your audience in the middle of your story. And then he moved slowly to the core of the speech, which was a beautiful personal story, and wrapped this all up with a powerful message and a more powerful conclusion. See, these highlights should not be more than 45 seconds, because you need to move into the core, and the core is suggestions.
Okay, thank you so much, Toastmaster Ahmed. We'd like to go ahead and launch one of the polling questions that we prepared for our attendees, and then we'll move on to our next segment. But I understand you will stick around for us in case we have some additional questions or interaction for you later on in our training. So let's go with this question. I'm going to launch a poll. Attendees, you have 15, 20 seconds to respond to the poll. And the question is, evaluation contestants should focus on highlighting their skills rather than critiquing the speech. True or false? You'll have 15 seconds, counting now. And 30% have voted, 40% have voted. 5 more seconds. And we'll go ahead and close the poll and share the results with everyone. 60% of our attendees responded, and their responses are on the screen now. So 42% said yes, it's true. They should focus on highlighting their skills rather than critiquing the speech. 58% said that's false, and no one said that it's all the same. So I think we need to clarify some things for them before we move on to the next one. Can you do that quickly? Can you respond to the polling results on this, Toastmaster Ahmed?
Well, I do agree with that, and if you think about this from the point of view of the target speaker, then this is absolutely true. You want to focus more on critiquing the speech, but remember, the only backfire here is you are in a competition. So if you sound too critical, the judges will translate this into less grading. If you are in a club meeting and want to help your speaker, then I absolutely agree with you. You have to critique the speech to help the speaker forward.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much again, Toastmaster Ahmed. We're going to move now to our next segment of the training, which will be on table topics, how to win table topics contest. And to do that, I want to switch over to our dear Toastmaster Helenka. She is the 2015 champion of table topics for District 79. Toastmaster Helenka, I'm going to come to you now, and I'm going to go ahead and open your mic up. And can you hear me okay, Toastmaster Helenka?
Yes, I can, Akanke.
Awesome. So I'm going to come over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Did you get a message on your site that we want to see your screen?
Not as yet. I see that it's sharing the poll results, but I'm not getting a message on sharing the screen.
Okay, so let me stop sharing the polling results. Let me end that, hide those results, and I'm going to try to come to you again. Waiting to view Toastmaster Helenka's screen. So you should see, maybe you can minimize one of your windows, because sometimes it hides behind a window or the control panel or something like that.
Can you see me now?
Actually, it says now viewing your screen. So give me maybe 10 seconds, it will show up. Yes, there we are. We see your screen. So I have a question for you. And you already answered it, so in an email to me. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the question and share the results with everyone. My question to you was, what do you love most about table topics? And what you said is that you like the spontaneity the most. It's like diving off a cliff into the air and trusting that there's a net somewhere to catch you. I like the way you phrased that. And I want to let everyone know that Toastmaster Helenka, and I mean this in the most sincere, heartfelt way, I think she is the only person that I've met that I think has a table topics mind. Her brain is wired for table topics. She joined Toastmasters in 2014, and that same contest year, she entered table topics and went from club all the way to the district winner. And every time I saw her answer a question, I could see her immediately just being in the moment. She was in the moment and she fluidly answered each question in the most creative way. It's just amazing. So I think you are the best person to present this session today. Lots of people are good with table topics, but you're good, and you're good in a unique way. Your creativity and your in the momentness is something I've never seen. So go ahead and tell us about table topic competition and how our attendees can do better on the big stage to win.
Okay, well, thank you for that introduction. I guess part of my problem is I do just sort of launch in and I don't always think about what I'm doing or how I'm doing it. So I had to go back a little bit and look at again what I do when I am about to do a table topic competition. And that's what I'm hoping to share tonight. And I'm hoping that some of these ideas will give other people the success and enjoyment of table topics, because it can be a scary thing.
Yes.
In speaking with people about the table topics competition, there seem to be some points that keep coming up, and I will cover these tonight. I'm trying to get my screen to move on, and it doesn't seem to want to. Let's see. I'm having trouble clicking onto my next slide. Let's see if this... Okay. So I will cover some general points. I will cover the acronym GAMES, which was the most helpful advice that I received. How to begin a speech, how to develop speech content, how to conclude a speech. So, some common mistakes that people make, and I hope getting everybody ready to win their next table topics competition.
Awesome.
So, general points. To begin with, as Toastmasters, I'd like you all to think about when you're in a meeting and someone is about to speak, and how you're there hoping that they're going to give a good speech. You're rooting for them. You're really on their side. And remember, that's how the audience feels when you get up to do your table topics. They're on your side. They're rooting for you. They want you to be really good. So prepare yourself, even before you get your topic or question, to be happy with the question. Feel that it's a great chance to say something and have a bit of fun. Also, use the space, move about, use your voice. Again, as competent communicators, we've had practice on moving, on gesturing. We've had practice with modulating our voice, all sorts of things like that. Use those. Have fun. Lots of fun. Your audience will also have fun. And as I said, I like the acronym GAMES because it not only reminds me of the steps that I need to take, but it also reminds me to have fun. So GAMES stands for get the audience's attention, acknowledge the judges and the audience, make a response to the question, give 2 or more examples, and summarize. And through this presentation, I'll show a little bit how I use games to help me. Now, the most important attribute for any impromptu speaker is really to have a can-do state of mind and to trust that your subconscious mind will supply the words and the images and the ideas you need. You have to let it work, but first you need to block out the negatives because they take up a lot of room in your brain. So wipe out, I'm unprepared, I'm so nervous, I don't know if this is what the audience wants. Maybe they want something else. Get rid of that. Block out all the unproductive and distracting thoughts. Is this the right answer? Gee, maybe that other story would be a better story right now. Maybe I should be sad or happy. So get rid of those. Believe that even if you're not sure what to say, you will begin speaking. So once you stop considering whether to give an answer, if it's the right answer and such, all of your brain power will be focused on your answer and not on judging the answer. So the first thing is to listen carefully the first time through to the question. Then trust your first thought. Don't waste precious time judging it or analyzing it. Go with it. And as the question is being read a second time, it's a good time to come up with 2 or more examples. So that's where I go to my G and grab the audience's attention. So my first thing, I want them to pay attention to me. Now, don't repeat the question. Don't acknowledge the audience and judges right away. It's kind of a dull start. You have to get a lot of speed up after that to make an impact. So grab their attention right away. Now that you've got their attention, now acknowledge the audience and the judges. The audience, if they've got their attention, they're willing to wait for you to get to the next part. In fact, they're really eager to hear what the next part is. So the next part is the M, making a response to the question. I suppose for some, this is really where it gets gritty, what to say. So this is my E's from games. It's giving examples. If I'm coming up with the examples while the question was being read the second time, now is the time I'm going to try and put them into some context. So there are a number of strategies. The Toastmaster Impromptu Speaking Series has 4 strategies that they suggest. These are to express an opinion, to address cause and effect, to break the topic into components, and to discuss the past, present, and future. These are discussed in the Toastmaster series, so I'm not going to repeat them, but I will encourage everyone to go and look at them, think about them, consider whether one of these is going to be your most comfortable go-to response. For myself, I use those and 3 other techniques for my responses. And they are PEEP, stories, transitions, and this is my +1, I speak with the audience. So to begin, make a PEEP. And for some of us, when we've been asked the question, that's possibly the only sound we're capable of making. PEEP? What do you want? However, it's an acronym, and it stands for point, explanation, example, point. So make your point at the start, explain your point in the body of your speech, give some examples, and then repeat your point and link it to the beginning. So that's a nice, easy, straightforward way to answer the table topics question. Another way is to tell a story, because, of course, everyone loves stories. So you're going to make your examples part of the story. And also, wherever possible, use dialogue and not a report. So you want to perhaps compare when he said he didn't want me to go out in that dress with the dialogue where I imitate him. You're not wearing that, are you? Much more engaging, much more interesting, and we do like to eavesdrop on conversations. Now, you may not have a story up your sleeve, so invent a story. So you can imagine that everyone here is on the moon and we're all able to float up without gravity. Or what if everyone here was given a nice piece of chocolate? I can't use that because if I'm imagining that, I probably won't speak any further. I'll just be thinking about the chocolate. So a third technique is to transition to your topic. Now, this is something that politicians do, a lot of people do. It's answering the question or the topic that you are comfortable with, which is not necessarily exactly the one you've been given. So what you do is you find a word or a concept in the topic and use that as the springboard for your answer. An author, Andrei Sedniev, who is very good, suggests moving up and down the pyramid. So I had someone say to me, the question to her was, what do you do when your child has a temper tantrum? Now, she doesn't have children, so she wasn't sure, what do I do? How do I answer it? In this case, you can move up. In other words, take child and make it bigger. So a child is part of a larger whole. For a child, an instance, a child is a human. A child is a citizen of Saudi Arabia. A child is someone who will be using the world's resources and needing to be careful about conservation. So you can start to move into something you're a little more comfortable with. The same, you can move down. What is a child? Child's a baby, it crawls, it wears tiny clothes, it has no history. So you can move into things that you're more comfortable with, as long as when you get to the conclusion, you tie it back to the topic. Another way to transition is through creative associations. This is perhaps a little more controversial. I know some people don't want to do this at all. Others find it a great springboard. Now, I don't know anything about children, but I know a lot about rocks. Rocks are so exciting. So how do I go from this child having a temper tantrum to being able to tell you about my deep hidden passion for rocks? Perhaps when I was a child and had a temper tantrum, I could always calm down when I looked at rocks. Do you have any idea how interesting rocks are? And now I can talk to you about rocks and how passionate I am about them. But again, I need to bring it back to the question and the topic. So I might want to end by saying, I would suggest that all parents show rocks to their children when they're having a temper tantrum. So I can manipulate this topic a bit to get into something I'm a little more comfortable speaking with. Another important way to use the transition is to get out of a dead end. Now, if you have examples in your mind, you generally don't hit a dead end, but sometimes you do. So, what do you do when your child has a temper tantrum? Boy, I've got a great answer. When my child has a temper tantrum, I run him out of the house. And then I have no idea what I'm going to say next, which is not a good thing to say at that point. It's also not very good to say, oh, sorry, what I meant to say, or, ooh, let me go back and change that. So transition. Have a pause, take a breath, and maybe when I'm outside, I can watch the cars going by and see the new Mercedes that my neighbor just bought, and imagine the car I will buy, so forth and so on, and again bring the conclusion back so that by the time I finished being outside looking at cars, I go in and my child is finished with a temper tantrum and my life can continue. And finally, what I do is I like to hold a conversation with the audience, which is really what we do with all our speeches. If we're not connecting with the audience, what's the point? So hold a conversation with the audience. Figuratively, take them with you as you make your journey, as you are telling your story. And literally, make them move with you as you move across the stage and use the space. As you are moving, they are watching you and feeling as though they are moving, and this makes it more interesting visually, which also makes it more interesting as a story and as a speech. So you've given the heart of your speech, you've put everything into it, and it's time to conclude. Perhaps not the strongest conclusion. Thanks for that. And now back to, no, not a great way. This brings me to my S for games, which is to summarize, to bring my speech back to the beginning and to remind people of my initial response. Now, Ahmed, when he was talking about the evaluation, said it's important to summarize. That's 15 points, if I remember correctly. It's also important to summarize with table topics. Bring your audience with you back to where you began so they understand and see the loop. So, how? You can have a nice polished finish. So, maybe finish with a statement. Children should not be allowed to have temper tantrums. Or, finish with a call to action. I encourage all parents to show rocks to their children when they're having temper tantrums. Or restate your beginning point. Temper tantrums are the hardest challenge I face as a parent, and I don't think there's anything that can be done. Now, I am going to talk a little bit about the common mistakes. And while none of these are going to get you disqualified, they aren't going to win you any points. So the first thing is repeating the question. Now, in impromptu speaking in general, if you're talking with a colleague, if you're giving a presentation, repeating a question is a really good way to clarify with your questioner. But in a table topics competition, it is boring. Now, Your audience has heard the question twice already from the table topics master. If you happen to be the 8th contestant, the audience has heard the question at least 16 times. They're not really keen to hear it one more time. So don't repeat the question. That's a good question. Yes, the Toastmasters who came up with the questions for table topics, they also thought it was a good question when they brainstormed it, and that's why they're asking. So again, this is a rather obvious ploy to gain time. It's much more effective to take a pause. You don't need to start speaking right away. In fact, for me, my technique is to not start speaking, but rather I try to start acting out my thought. And while I'm acting it out, I'm getting my thoughts in order to begin. So when I was asked a question about communicating on Facebook, the first thing I did was pretend to type, which got me thinking about how I use Facebook. Okay, the next common mistake is acknowledging the audience first. I already mentioned this. So if you begin with, "Thank you, Table Topics Master, respected judges, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, people in the back of the room," so forth, so on, it's dull. And you have a much harder time getting the audience to be interested and have some enthusiasm, and it's harder for you to get that enthusiasm going. And finally, not using the space. Standing still, frozen into position. You're clearly very tense. You're very nervous. And your audience is going to feel this, and it's not going to make them comfortable. It's not going to make them able to really hear you. So use the space, move, use gestures. They add interest to what you're saying. And for me, and I think a lot of other people, it's a bit more relaxing. Some of that tension I'm feeling, I'm dissipating by moving around the stage. So that's how I do table topics. So now I suppose I could say, you're all set. Go out and answer table topics and win the competition. Because what else can you do? Can you practice? Really? I don't know what the question's going to be, so how do I practice? Well, the first thing I do is, yes, I do practice a lot for table topics, and I start by speaking for 2 minutes about anything. It's really important to get comfortable with that 2-minute time frame. Ask someone to time you or time yourself. Use structure, a beginning, and a conclusion. As you do this, you start to internalize the timing, and you have a sense that you still need to speak a little longer, or you're running a bit long, best to wind it up. And this way, you're not relying on that timer, which can be a bit distracting. It's obviously a good idea to keep an eye on it. You don't want that amber light to turn red without noticing. But if you've practiced this 2 minutes for a while, you can be pretty good about knowing and feeling when you've come to the end. Personalize your speech. You're the only one who has your own experiences, so what you bring is a unique perspective that no one else can have. The other way to practice is to have questions from all over the place that could be asked in a table topics competition, and to keep being asked those questions and practicing the answers. Now, I've sent to Akanke a list of nearly 400 questions that are possible table topics questions, and I'm hoping they'll be available to everyone to see and download.
Yeah.
You may not be asked any of the questions on those, but the fact that you've been working on them and practicing and getting questions that are completely out of left field, you don't expect, can really put you in a good place, put you ready to answer the next unexpected question, which is coming from the Table Topics Master.
Yes.
Finally, trust yourself. Trust that, yes, I will answer the question. Trust that, yes, I will keep speaking for 2 minutes, and my subconscious will suggest the best possible words to use at that time. And finally, know that not all answers are going to be great, but it's every time you give an answer, it will be better, and it is a chance to get better and to become great and to be less off balance when you are given those questions. And finally, I want to give a lot of thanks to my coaches and mentors. As you said, Akanke, it was just over a year between joining Toastmasters and winning the Nationals, and that certainly didn't just happen. I was very grateful to Eagles Toastmasters. They gave me a lot of chances to practice. Mo Hamilton, who's the DTM of District 29 Governor, has a YouTube video called How to Win at Table Topics. Mo was the one who introduced me to the acronym games, and I found a lot of really good, useful tips from her. I mentioned the author Andrei Sedniev. He wrote The Magic of Impromptu Speaking, Create a Speech that will be remembered for years in under 30 seconds. Now, I could not get this book in Kingdom last year. Maybe you can get it now. I actually had a friend who brought it. However, Andre does have a website, magicofpublicspeaking.com, which has useful information on it. And I'm happy to share all of those with you, but I will not share the greatest assistance and support I had. That's my husband, Chris, who critiqued me, who timed me, who made me do it over, and was generally always there holding my hand when I was having the nerves and jitters. So I hope you can find someone nearly as good as Chris, and I think anyone can do very well, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Helinka. That was very, again, unique, insightful, and it had your signature written all over it. So thank you so much for presenting that valuable information to us. I liked how you gave the same example and treated it different ways to make your point about games. That was very useful. And I want to say something to the attendees. First of all, Toastmaster Helenka will have to leave after she takes questions from you. So now is your chance to ask her questions, because she won't be able to stick around until the end of the session in case you get some questions later on. So please get your questions, raise your hand if you want me to open your mic. And is anyone out there willing to do table topics. If we could ask you a table topics question, you can answer it right on the spot. We'll give you 1 to 2 minutes. Is anybody willing to do that? Because that's something we could also do. But if you do have questions, please ask them now because she'll be leaving. Now, I want to ask you something. I want to point out something to Semester Helenka. The tips you gave were so salient for higher level tabletop. I really like that distinction because a lot of the things you said don't do. This is what we are taught to do at the lower level. But I think what you're saying is that to stand out, you got to do things differently. And I loved your point about, because a lot of times we're told repeat the question to buy yourself time. But your point is in a table topics contest, they've heard it 16 times already. They don't need to hear it again. And everybody knows you're buying time. So if you really want to stand out, do something different. I really loved that valuable insight that you shared. Thank you very much for that. I have a question from Toastmaster Farheen. Thank you for being with us, Toastmaster Farheen. She's saying, is it important to speak till the red light turns on?
No, it's not. It's important, obviously, to speak for at least 1.5 minutes so you qualify. But if you've got a really great speech and you can deliver it and your end has got a real impact, stop. Don't keep sort of rabbiting on, filling in the space, and then, by the way, you're only going to weaken your case. Minute and a half of really snappy speech going to be much better than 2 minutes and 15 seconds of waffle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great. Okay. Can you just tell us the meaning of GAMES one more time? GAMES. The G is for what? The A is for what? Without delivering your presentation again, what's the acronym for again?
The acronym is G, grab the audience's attention. A, acknowledge the judges and the audience. M, make a response. E, examples. Give 2 or more examples. S, summarize and bring it back to the beginning.
Awesome. All right, so let's see. No more questions regarding table topics. You were very thorough. It was very entertaining, and I love your humor. You have a natural wit and ability to bring humor into everything that you do, and that's one of the things I love about you, being around you and seeing you do table topics. You're just a delightful person, and you bring that into table topics. So thank you so much, Toastmaster Helenka, for being with us and sharing your great insight. As the Table Topics Champion for District 79 for 2015, you've demonstrated this evening why you've won. You've transferred that knowledge to us, and I'm sure our attendees have benefited from it. So thank you again, and we look forward to connecting on the other side of this webinar.
Absolutely. And Akanke, I didn't mention one of the things that really, really helps, and that's support and encouragement of my fellow Toastmasters. And I have to say, you and the support and the belief you had in me was a huge help and really helped me get up on the stage in the first place.
Awesome. It's our pleasure. We support you because you deserve it, and you excite us. Yeah, the first moment we saw you do table topics, we were like, wow, where's she from? Who is that? She's great. So it's our pleasure, and we're always there to support you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akanke.
Have a good night, and say hi to Chris for all of us.
I will.
Okay, take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you. We're going over now to Toastmaster Shiraz. Toastmaster Shiraz, I'm going to come to you now, and I think we need to just test your mic because we didn't get a full test in before we got started there. So I'm coming over to you now. You're going to get a notification on your side saying that we want to share your screen, and you should click the Show My Screen button. Do you see it on your side? Yes, you've already clicked it, so we're going to come to your screen soon. And I don't hear you saying anything. Can we test your mic, Toastmaster? Oh, wait, I opened the wrong mic. Toastmaster Shiraz, can you speak so that I can hear you?
Yeah, now I've been unmuted now. I think now
Yes, I can hear you now.
Listen to me.
Yes. Now, one of the things I know that you wanted to do is to share your webcam as well. Let's try that. Let's test that to see if that affects the connection at all. And if it's good, then we'll keep going with both. And if not, we'll just resort to the presentation. So if you'll turn on your webcam and let's do a little bit of talking and chatting.
Let me share my webcam now.
Okay. Yep. And you're a little dark. Can you you don't have any more light, huh?
That's the best I could extract of myself.
Okay, so
yeah, that's the background light. I think that will be distracting DT McCann.
Okay, yeah, because we can't
switch off the webcam in that
case. Okay, no problem. All right, so I asked you the question, what is it that you like about humorous speeches or humorous speech contest and using humor in speeches? And your response was, humor is a good way to get rid of mind agony. I'm not looking at the answer now. I'm just remembering what you said. Did I get it right? It erases mental agony.
Yeah, it was almost right. Absolutely right, DT McCann.
Okay, great. And you're right. When we start laughing, we really can forget our worries, you know, and that's the beauty of laughter. It just kind of makes us forget our woes. So now you're going to tell us about how to win humorous speech contest, and I want to thank you for being with us. Again, we didn't get a chance to say hi to you when I introduced you earlier, but I did introduce you according to your bio, and you are our 2014 finalist for District 79 Humorous Speech Contest, and I saw you present this humorous presentation recently, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm excited that you'll be able to share it with everybody now. So it's all yours, and we're ready to hear from you now. And your mic seems like it's kind of close to your mouth because I hear all your breathing.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, it's better. I don't hear your breathing now. I mean, your breathing is fine, but it's better if we can just hear you without the breathing. Okay, that's great.
I'm now holding my breath. I'm holding my breath now. Okay.
Don't die on us. Please don't die. We want to hear your presentation. Okay, go ahead. Thank you so much.
It will be a memorable death. It will be a memorable death.
Okay, it's all yours.
My fingers crossed. Okay. First of all, thank you, DT McCann, for that wonderful opportunity and that wonderful introduction. Dear facilitator and the webinar audience, good evening. The best part that I like about the humorous speech contest is that there is no eligibility. The moment you try to step in and take the role as a contestant for the international speech, you are showered with a jargon. And they say you need something like CC6. For a new person, that's really difficult. But there is good news for you that to participate in a humorous speech contest, there is no eligibility as such, except that you pay the fees, $36, which is going to be $45 in a couple of months. And secondly, the point which I would like to highlight over here, dear Toastmasters, is that the moment you join a club, the moment you become a part of this Toastmasters fraternity, the first thing is your guru, your mentor. Not only for the humorous, but I would say for all contestants, for your Toastmasters journey, do not leave the hand of your mentor. And specifically in the humorous speech contest, I would say it is mandatory that you get connected to your mentor as much as possible. Now, coming to the speech contest. Now, this is the season of contests. Most of the club contests are over. We are now stepping we are going through a phase of area contests. Soon it will be division, and finally it will be the district contest. I think this is the best time this webinar has been organized. And what happens is you are sitting in a club contest, you are sitting doing something. There are incoming ideas that happen to you, that occur to you. At that point, I would say discuss those ideas with your mentor, because your mentor is a person who has already been there in the Toastmasters fraternity for a longer time than you. Just discuss with him whether that topic is even good or not. Secondly, as a Toastmaster, I would say you have every right to disturb your mentor. Whether it's a him or her, just be careful, but disturb him. Mentors like to be disturbed. When the mentees are disturbing them, it's a good sign. That means that the mentor is useful, not like me. Okay, show the draft. Write down something, jot down something whenever you are having those incoming ideas for a humorous speech. And finally, practice with your mentor, without your mentor. Now, talking about the basics, going down to the foundations. And a question that occurs to everyone is, what exactly is humor? Is it just this smiley? Is it just a ha ha ha? No. I could gather three aspects about humor. The first is people often mistake comic with humor. People consider it synonymous. It's not like that. Being comical is one of the aspects of a humorous speech. Secondly, try to inculcate the element of absurdness in your humorous speech. If it's a monotonous, regular speech, people will not laugh. And then try to be as absurd as possible. For example, you're driving a car. You can say, I was driving at the 10th gear. Wow. People will say, how absurd is that? Then that creates the element of humor. Be inconsistent. Do not let your audience predict what you're going to say. Show some signs of inconsistencies. I remember, dear Toastmasters, that in one of the humorous speech contests, I think 2 or 3 years ago, one of the contestants, while coming to the stage, fell down. And for a moment, everybody thought that that contestant had actually fallen down. But the reality was that was scripted, and that was a part of the speech. So think of these ways, devise some ways like this. And finally, if you ask, how do I define humor? I would say that humor is a quality. It's just a quality, but it should cause amusement. And by amusement, we say all these three things: the comic element, the absurd element, and the element of inconsistency. Now, talking about the era, you can see on YouTube the videos of those humorous contestants who spoke like 10 years ago or maybe 15 years ago. That was a relatively easier time. But nowadays, it's so difficult, because whatever joke you have to share, whatever anecdote you have to say, whatever limerick you have to utter, everybody has heard it in WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Twitter. You name the social networking domain, and people have already heard those jokes. So it's a difficult era. People say, I want more. The starving mass. There are so many pains and difficulties and disappointments in this world that people find refuge in humor. Those people who are sitting in the in the speech contest from afternoon till evening, they are anxiously waiting for the humorous speech contest, because that's the point where they are going to be fed by comic elements which are going to satisfy their souls. So, dear humorous speech contestants or dear humorous speakers, we are not just regular Toastmasters. Consider yourselves as a community. We have to serve the Toastmasters, and we have to serve these people by giving them some humorous, some comical, and some magical moments. And that's why I say that they put the humorous contest at the end. Like they say, they keep the best for the end. And then the problem I would like to repeat, nothing is new. Whatever joke you see from Google or WhatsApp, it's already been discussed. People already know. And sometimes I have even seen it happen. A Toastmaster, a humorous speech contestant, is cracking a joke, and the audience, one of the member of the audience says, "Oh, I have got that same joke in my mobile." It's really painful for the speaker. Now, if you see this picture, this is like, even though it might look like an employee sitting in his office getting bored, but in reality, this is the plight of the judges who are going to judge your humorous speech. They won't laugh at all. It's a very, very difficult job to make the audience and especially the judges laugh. I would consider humorous speaking as the toughest category in Toastmasters speech contests. So now we come down to the concept. It's so difficult. People are starving. What has to be done? What should we do? I suggest let's focus on what not to do, because this domain is really small. The domain of what has to be done is really big. So let's focus on what we should not do, so that we can calculate and we can discuss those points in this presentation for the next few minutes. Avoid cliched topics. You know better than what topics. Of course, the husband and wife jokes, girlfriend boyfriend jokes, neighbors wives jokes. People have already said that a million and a zillion times. So better not use them. And even like this one, you can see there is a logo of Toastmasters. Somebody has just removed the E, and we are seeing where leaders are mad. Even though it's a perfect joke, it's a good one, but the whole idea is never try to repeat it. When it gets cliched, people do not laugh, and as a contestant, the humorous speaker fails. So just keep that in mind. Some more things to be avoided is like, try not to bring the regional jokes or regional humor. For example, I belong to the southern part of India, where we have lots of jokes about the vegetable brinjal. Now, if I use this in my speech, how many will be there? Like 20%, 10% people who belong to my same city? Only those people will enjoy. But what about the other people? We are Toastmasters International, not Toastmasters National, or not Toastmasters Regional. So, dear leaders, just be careful. And secondly, this picture, I want to show that there are so many elements. I have seen people actually doing this, going to Google, selecting a theme, then downloading all the jokes related to that theme, and then what they do is at the end, they make a sandwich of all those jokes and they just throw it at the audience, thinking that it will win them the humorous speech contest. I would say a big no no. Have less number of points, less number of humorous anecdotes, and focus on them, focus on the punch that's going to come. And this third picture, I usually say, it's a red curtain, there is a particular spotlight, and there is a stand-on mic. This, I personally feel, it symbolizes a stand-up comedian. Dear leaders, remember, we are Toastmasters, we are speakers, we are not stand-up comedians, we are not stage artists. At the end of the day, it's a speech that is prepaid. So focus that focus on the fact that it's a speech and we are not just delivering a stand-up performance. And a final no, I would say, do not be worshippers of Google. What people do is, usual habit, they go to Google, search for a topic. Suppose I want to speak on the topic of obesity. I'm a slightly overweight person, just like a few grams above the required weight, a few million grams above the required weight. So what I would do is, I would go to Google, I would type obesity jokes, see the number of sites, and maybe instead of going on page 1, the search page number 2 or 3, I see, wow, these are new jokes. I visit that page, download those jokes with the intention or with the notion that other people have not visited this page. And I just cross my fingers and I just hope that people do not see this and do not copy my jokes. This is a big misnomer. It's a big misconception, because what's going to happen is everybody has been there. So stop worshipping Mr. Google. Google is there for your help, but for speech contests, you can take partial help. But for the complete help, trust yourself. There are so many horizons. There are so many pathways, so many ways that you can choose. The first one and the most important, I would say, is your mind is a box, and just think outside the box. Think, ponder. There are so many humorous aspects in your own life. Sometimes we are so engrossed that we tend to neglect them. Let me just share a small story of my daughter. Once my daughter came to me and said, Daddy, what's green and says, I'm a frog? I said, I don't know. She said, a talking frog. Things like these happen. The whole idea is, look around, keep looking around. You will get so many topics, believe me. The way people talk, you can have a humorous speech on that. Focus on how people walk. You can get a beautiful speech crafted just on this topic. Believe me, dear leaders, there are so many topics which humorous speakers have not even touched till now. The way people sit, or the way people are busy in their smartphones, or the way people make their faces when combing their hair. So many topics are there. The whole idea is just look around. I would personally say the best domain to search for are your own life incidents. You get so much out of it that just, I would suggest that go back to your past life, think, stay there for a few minutes or few hours maybe, and you will come back with so many incidents that you won't even believe yourself. Wow, I could get so many contents, so many topics I could get. And secondly, I would say is just trust your observations. Like once I was sitting in a Toastmaster session, and this word DTM, with all due respect to Madam Toastmaster, DTM Akanke, people say DTM means Distinguished Toastmaster. Some say it's a dead Toastmaster. Some say it's a dying Toastmaster, and some even have the courage to say dangerous Toastmasters. So these are the different levels and different points of creativity that we can tap on to extract a beautiful humorous speech. Secondly, I would say, Toastmasters, that define a theme. We cannot just throw random, disconnected, or disoriented jokes at the audience. They are here to listen to you, the audience of your speech contest. It's our job to prepare a good speech, and for that, you need a theme. Define a theme, as we just discussed. It could be the way people look at the sky, or suppose you go to a construction site and just imagine the people looking at the the topmost under construction floor. I was once trying to observe that. I found so many funny observations. One person is looking at the topmost floor as if he's trying to find God. One person is looking at the sky, looking at the topmost floor of an under construction building and scratching his head. I went to him and I said, why do you feel like scratching only when you look at the topmost floor? Is there some kind of biological change inside you? So these are the different themes, these are the different topics. For example, allow me to share a topic which I chose in the year 2014 when I was one of the finalists in the district in the humorous speech contest. Forcefully, my friends put my name at the club level for the humorous speech contest, and I said, I'm not ready for this. And that became my topic, that what kind of a serious person I am and how these Toastmasters are cruel people. It's like they push you in the river of contests and expect you to swim. That was my speech topic, and believe me, friends, that speech clicked so well that took me from the club to the area to the division and finally at the district. So think of these topics, and one point I would like to raise over here is let yes, DTM Akanke.
I just want to let you know that you're breaking up every now and then a little bit, but not so much that we can't get everything, but if it gets worse, I'll let you know. So if there's anything you can do to adjust on your end, go
Okay.
closer to the computer or closer to the mic or something. I don't know. Okay, thank you. Keep going.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
What I would suggest is let the audience expect the unexpected. They should not know what you are going to say. They should not be able to predict what you are going to deliver. Say something totally unexpected. That's your job. An additional point in my presentation, which I would like to mention today, is thanks to the Notepad application in smartphones. You take a pen and a paper, you sit down, and you try to write a good speech. The number of ideas which come are zero, literally zero. But suddenly you are sitting with your friends, you are at a shopping mall, or maybe you are socializing with your friends, and suddenly all those humorous ideas strike your mind. At this point, I would say, jot down the incoming ideas instantly. That is the best solution, I would say, to have this saving the concepts or saving the ideas what come to your mind. But unfortunately, you have a theme prepared, you got everything fresh, you got beautiful ideas, you have a beautifully crafted speech, but still there is an enemy which is sitting inside of all of us, and that is fear. And when you are fearful, there are so many symptoms, especially the personal level. You can feel that your heart rate has increased, you feel you are shivering, you have butterflies in the stomach. I don't endorse this topic. I say, I don't endorse this phrase. I say it's cockroaches in the stomach. That's a really difficult feeling. Dizziness, and finally, the dry mouth. These are the symptoms which you feel. And then the audience, they see a pale Toastmaster, a serious-faced Toastmaster. He is drinking lots and lots of water before the speech, and even during the speech. he cannot make a good eye contact with the audience because he's so nervous. And sometimes you had a fight with a fellow Toastmaster. You don't like a fellow Toastmaster or a guest who is there. And the moment you see that unpleasant face, you forget your topic and you lose track of your speech. You can see some speakers constantly moisturize their lips, trying to undry the lips. And finally, the audience see that you are trying to hide behind a lectern or a podium or a dais. These are the things. But why do these happen? These happen because you prepared a speech, and in the first 2 minutes, the audience did not laugh at a single punch. Your punches are going flat. That's a very bad point for a speaker. And at that point, these are all the symptoms that show up and disturb and destroy the humorous speaker.
We have 5 more minutes.
The whole idea is how to overcome it. Not only for humorous speech. Absolutely. Thank you. I would suggest that there is a memory trainer. His name is Harry Lorraine. He is a world-renowned memorization trainer, and I consider him a guru. And his concept is any speaker forgets a speech because he has not memorized it properly, and that's the biggest reason why he is fearful of going on the stage. If you memorize your speech properly, you won't have a single atom of fear inside you. That's his viewpoint, and I respect that. I would suggest you Google Mr. Harry Lorraine and see what techniques he has suggested to remember the speech so that you don't forget any aspect of the speech. This presentation does not permit me to go into the details of memorization, but it's an important aspect, especially for the humorous speakers. If you are thinking of a punch, timing is so important in a humorous speech, you cannot afford to lose even a single second. Finally, practice your speech. If you have not practiced it properly, that means you are fearful. Finally, I would say visualization and relaxation. And the food intake. I mean, don't have so much food. Please don't take this wrongly, as take a lot of food and come to the contest. Take as less food as possible. The lighter meal, the better speech you are going to deliver. And with all these aspects, I believe you are going to have a confidence level that's going to go really, really high. The yes aspects, what has to be done, I would say, drink lots of water, but before the speech contest. There is something called as the olive oil technique I would like to share over here, is that before any speech, if you feel your mouth gets dried a lot, I would suggest that have a half a teaspoon of olive oil so that your mouth is moisturized all the time. It's really a big help. I do that for big competitions, and it has been really useful. And even citrus is a good source of vitamin C, and vitamin C is a proven technique for as a natural moisturizer. Even sugar-free gums are also helpful, and a moisturizing lip balm. My better half just told me today that even there are lip balms for men. I never knew that. I will buy that today, inshallah. But for good point, try to use the lip balm so that your mouth is moisturized and it's going to help you. And list of no-nos, no heavy diets, please, no soft drinks, caffeine intake is bad, sweets, ice creams, not good, and oily food, big no. Not only for obesity, but also for speeches. And if you're taking tobacco, if you smoke, please avoid all these things before a speech at least. And alcohol, if we would have been in Bahrain, I would say avoid alcohol also, but we are in Saudi Arabia, so no need to re-emphasize that. And with that, I think these are the elements and this is the experience what I have shared with you for winning a humorous speech contest. Thank you, and back to DT Makanke.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Shiraz, for sharing with us your insight on winning humorous speech contest. I want to go to a poll and launch a poll quickly for our attendees. And this one says, which of the following is not recommended when it comes to delivering a good humorous speech? Have an unexpected punchline, keep talking when your audience laughs, have a message in your humorous speech, use pauses effectively. Which one of these is not recommended for a good humorous speech? So you have 10 more seconds to vote. 32% of our attendees have voted. 5 more seconds.
I cannot see that question actually.
No, you can't see it, but I'm going to share the results, which you should be able to see. Okay, so 46 of our attendees, 46% of our attendees voted. I'm going to close the poll and share the results. The results show that 9% said you should not have an unexpected punchline, and 91% said you should not keep people talking. You should not keep talking when your audience laughs. So the 91% got it right. If if your audience is laughing and you keep talking, nobody's going to hear you.
Yeah.
And that could, you want to say something about that, Toastmaster Shiraz?
Okay. No, I think the 91% got it right.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We do have one question, but I don't know if we'll have time to get to it. Let me just go to it quickly and see if it's an easy one to answer. The question is, can a person not having a natural sense of humor and who cannot devise jokes on their own, like Toastmaster Shiraz, deliver a humorous speech successfully? What do you think, Toastmaster Shiraz?
I think DTA Makanke, for this question, as I said, the whole idea is how we look at life. Some people find it intuitively and some don't. That's the whole difference. There are humorous anecdotes in everybody's life. The whole idea is keep looking for such anecdotes and just have like a magnifying glass, a microscope, and
Okay, I don't hear you at all now, Toastmaster Shiraz. I lost you completely. I don't hear your sound at all. Okay, so we're going to go now to one last question that I wanted to get back to for Toastmaster Ahmed on evaluation. Toastmaster Ahmed, I'm going to open your mic quickly, and then after this question, we're going to sign off. This question comes from Toastmaster Mohan. He's asking, is it okay to ask for a round of applause for the speaker? We find a lot of people doing that. Is that a good technique on the big stage?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, you have to think about which level of competition. These tricks, these gimmicks that people use, usually they work very well at the lower level. In general, any tool of encouragement can be used for the advantage of the evaluator. But you have to understand, every tool that you use will eat away from the most important asset that you have in the evaluation contest, which is time. So any gimmick, like asking for an applause, like going into elaborated nonverbal language, like using over-the-board storytelling, excessive entry, and amazing, unexpected start to the speech. All of this will eat away from the core of your duty in that contest, which is to evaluate.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Okay, thank you very much. We have 30 seconds left, and I want to thank you all for being here. There is one question I'm such a I have a soft spot for getting to good questions. There's one last question I want to try and get in about evaluations. Toastmaster Katrina is asking, what should I do if I don't find points for improvement? I've seen people lose contests because they don't give areas of improvement or get low points. What would you say about that, Toastmaster Ahmed?
This is a very important question. There is a general tool, a general list of things that people always talk about. They talk about eye contact. They talk about full body movement. They talk about gestures. Rarely that you find speeches that are almost fault-free, that you will not find any problem to improve upon. Now, here is a very important tip. In the core of effective evaluation is a single book. That book is the cornerstone of any progress of evaluation. In fact, the 2013 district champion from Bahrain, her name is Toastmaster Hannah. She was my student, and I told her the first thing you do, the most important thing you do before you leave to Oman at that season, that year, you need to go back to the basic manual. The basic manual is scientifically designed to include 90% of what you want to evaluate a speech. It has a progress from the icebreaker all the way until the inspirational speech. The objectives of these 10 speeches are the foundation for any advanced evaluation. You get everything from those questions. And then from there are a numerous number of books. I personally like to listen to world champion speakers. They have their own seminars, have their own programs, and a few names of them is the 2001 world champion Darren LaCroix. He has excellent presentations. I would also listen to David Brooks. He's a writer, plus the champion of champions. And these two guys in particular, they have a series of CD and audio production, and you can just Google them and you see a wealth of knowledge that they have.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ahmed. I want to thank also Toastmaster Halinka and Toastmaster Shiraz for their great presentations. We learned a lot more about evaluation, table topics, and humorous speech contests. Great tips and insight from great champions who really helped us to gain more from their insight and their experience. And I personally gained a lot from being the facilitator by just sitting back listening. It was very enjoyable. I want to thank all the attendees who participated. Thank you for your questions. And we love to get more feedback from you. So when you get the email that says thank you, please hit reply and tell us what you loved and what you would like to hear from us in terms of webinar topics. If you would like the presentations, most of the presenters have agreed to share a PDF of their presentation with you. So if you want that, you can request that by replying to that email that you'll get tomorrow. The email address that it will come to is district79webinars@gmail.com. So thank you, everyone. Good night, everyone. And we will have this recording available as soon as possible and upload it to our District 79 YouTube channel. All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for sticking around, Toastmaster Ahmed, to answer those other questions about evaluation. And we hope we can reconnect with you on another occasion to hear more from you about evaluation or some other topic that you are good at presenting and have knowledge of. Have a great evening, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.